Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Monday night Facebook Live. I'm Laura Betts with Hyperbaric RX, and tonight's topic is anti-aging and life extension mechanisms of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So I do thank you for joining me this evening. We do Facebook Lives every Monday at 6 o'clock. And whether you are one of our amazing Hyperbaric RX clients and patients stopping by to get some new information about how to use hyperbaric oxygen therapy to improve your life, or you are one of our hyperbaric chamber operators in the ANDI organization looking to pick up some tips and tricks to share more information with your patients or clients, or you're an ANDI Certified Hyperbaric Facility or thinking about becoming an ANDI Certified Hyperbaric Facility. I take the time to share this information. I am very passionate about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and we just love having you out here. So again, tonight we're going to be talking about an amazing topic, specifically on how awesome hyperbaric is for extending health and longevity and improving quality of life. And again, we do Facebook Lives every Monday. Last week, I talked about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, stem cells, and apoptosis. And hyperbaric oxygen mechanisms, they overlap. One of the reasons why the modality is so powerful is because oxygen does an awful lot of things in our body all at the same time. So it's not just that the hyperbaric oxygen is helping this particular function or that particular expression. Oxygen's pretty important in human physiology. We have about 6,000 expressions, different chemical reactions, and things that are being created in our body that require oxygen. They require oxygen molecules in order to create the chemical or the enzyme or for the mitochondria to actually be able to make energy. So it's a pretty neat thing there. So if each topic, there's always things that were discussed in a topic prior that definitely are applicable. So if you haven't checked out the November Thankfulness series that we did, there was a lot of core information there. And last week's topic, stem cells and our apoptosis mechanisms and how they are affected by hyperbaric oxygen therapy. They are, in fact, particularly anti-aging. And one of the things I can tell you about growing up as a mixed gas diving instructor with all of these diver professionals that were essentially using optimal breathing gas technology. They were doing hyperbaric sessions, mini ones, every time they went to work. And the effect that it had on their physiology, the effect that it had on their appearance was something that definitely stood out. When you looked at a group of these people, they weren't particularly living an exceptionally clean life. In some cases, many of them had what we regard to be unhealthy habits. They did drink, they did smoke, and those things certainly take a toll. So when you put all of that together and you match the lifestyle and the age with the health and um, quality of life, youthfulness that the individual had, it was really kind of interesting. So skip ahead 30 years later. One of the things I'm going to share with you tonight is a published study. It was published in May of 2022, so it's pretty current data. And this, by the way, is another reason why you want to work with an ANDI certified hyperbaric facility. Because of the roles that many of the research site play, because hyperbaric is an emerging modality, we have a lot of new information that's being discussed and that we're actively involved in. In fact, Hyperbaric RX, we are a training and research site. And in addition to having people come to our facility to be able to use hyperbaric oxygen therapy to help restore their health and maintain their health. We are doing different research projects here, and we are feeding back data real time. So the study that I'm talking about tonight is a very, very interesting, and often it's about 17 years, give or take 15 to 20, depending on where you look, for the period of time, how long it takes from something is published until it actually reaches its way in practice. And this is something that is inherently different about ANDI member hyperbaric facilities. The ANDI member sites around the world, not only are they drawing from each other, and outside the US, the international indications are very interesting. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is used as a standard in other countries for things that are not covered by insurance here, and vice versa. And interestingly as well, the um, the data that's coming out right now is just profound. So this is practical real time. So here we are with a study that was done in May of 2022, and several of the pivotal points about the study, ANDI facilities have been using these protocols that pulled from the research that it's referencing for about 5 years now. So last week I talked about how the ANDI facilities adjusted the stem cell protocol when the follow-up research to the 2000 study was published in 2014, and that the ANDI member sites had implemented that as update from the medical board and the protocol list. So it really is different. And hyperbaric mechanisms are very dosage dependent. The idea that, oh, we did some hyperbaric. Okay, sure. Yeah, some oxygen is good, but are we creating an opportunity for efficacy? Is what we're doing impactful? So I'll talk a little bit about that in our discussion tonight and really share some very exciting things with you. Before we move any further, let me just take a moment again and introduce myself. My name is Laura Betts. I am founder and facility director of Hyperbarics RX. And we are located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And in addition to training and research here, we offer hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We are an ANDI Certified Hyperbaric Facilities. We have state-of-the-art hyperbaric chambers, and we offer a full range of wellness services, as well as hyperbaric for chronic conditions like immune disorders and traumatic brain injury and stroke, and different types of wounds and infections and so on. In addition to that, we offer a whole other level of personalized nutritional health programs that are customized to you, and we can integrate that into the dive plan to create even better efficacy. Oxygen's the primary component, but it's not the only component. When you support the organ with targeted whole food nutrition, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy, you get this supercharged effect. And what you would expect to see from the nutritional program and what you would expect to see from the hyperbaric program, they work very synergistically together, and we end up seeing results much sooner for much fewer dives over a much shorter duration. So where we would expect to see results on a nutritional program, we see them months earlier when we incorporate that with the hyperbaric oxygen therapy for that. And where all this information comes from, in addition to my clinical and dive medicine experience, working in the industry all of these years, I do have a personal health narrative, and I am alive because of hyperbaric oxygen therapy and natural health. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it. And this is one of the reasons why I founded this clinic, to create the opportunity for everybody to have the quality of life, the health and wellness. It feels really good in this body. And haha, I'm not supposed to be here. Well, thank you for hyperbaric oxygen therapy and natural health. I am a member of the ANDI Diving and Medical Board. In addition to that, I am Vice President of Substance Abuse Programming and Protocol Integration for the International Hyperbaric Medical Foundation. And we are doing some amazing research, and we are trying to grow the modality and create even further access to the modality, and get our soldiers and veterans with traumatic brain injuries treated with hyperbaric oxygen therapy so they can have quality of life. And it's a really neat thing. And of course, we are an ANDI Certified Hyperbaric Chamber, ANDI Certified Hyperbaric Facility, and we have certified hyperbaric chamber operators on staff. And You probably heard me say the word Andy quite a few times just in this Facebook Live alone. But it is a really big deal, and we are very proud of it because we don't have to have it. There is no law, there is no requirement, there is no regulation that is being enforced right now. Most of the people that are operating hyperbaric clinics have no training or certifications at all. Even in hospitals, while the chamber operators, they may be a nurse, they may be an emergency medical technician, doing emergency medicine, they have no actual training and certification of the operation of the hyperbaric chamber. Additionally, the configurations of the clinic, nobody looked. Who made the configuration up? Where did it come from? Did it have engineers evaluating the equipment, making sure that the facility has sound engineering practices using properly hyperbaric equipment that meets the necessary standards that are appropriate for safe operation? Even the idea that, oh, well, the fire inspectors must have checked. Well, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it's relatively rare. It's an emerging modality. And very often, even the fire inspectors, the authorities that have jurisdiction, that are the building departments, they may not be aware of the subcodes specific to hyperbaric. And if they're not, there's an awful lot of things that don't happen. Now, the good news is part of the reason why this is happening, part of the reason why what regulations there are not being enforced and why they are being so grossly overlooked and why we do have untrained, uncertified persons operating the chambers more frequently than not is because it's pretty hard to hurt somebody with a hyperbaric chamber. Regulation is reactive. And the good news is people aren't getting hurt. And the history of hyperbaric medicine, it's a non-invasive modality. It's one of the safest modalities because of its nature. We're using essentially the pressure of the chamber to dissolve a gas in a liquid. The gas is oxygen, the liquid is everything in our body except for very dense bones. So Henry's law of solubility is what we are referencing here. And hyperbaric does that pretty well. However, just because somebody isn't getting hurt, it doesn't necessarily mean that we created the best opportunity for efficacy. And when we are choosing a service, when we are choosing a modality, we really want to make sure that it's actually going to be impactful, that it's going to be able to create the opportunity for us to help meet our goals. And hyperbaric, when it's done at the right clinical dosages with the right mechanisms at the right dive plan by ANDI certified chamber operators. And that's a big, big reason why you want to come to an ANDI certified hyperbaric facility. Treating a neurological injury is not done at the same dosage as the anti-aging protocols that we are talking about tonight. So let's get into this a little bit more on our topic. And I will go ahead and actually place this in the chat. When I went to go begin our discussion, I was going to reference one of the big pivotal studies that actually demonstrated a profound change in human physiology. And it was the first time that it was documented. And when I went to research that study, I actually found a study that referenced not only the telomere lengthening study, but summed up a whole host of the current research. And this study is pretty profound. And again, published in May of 2022. So this is hyperbaric oxygen therapy for healthy aging, and it really does a neat job of breaking down the individual oxygen mechanisms and the therapeutics. Some of it is a little heavy for the average person, but overall, it is a really good study, and it also references an incredible amount of information. So if you are looking for a deep dive into many of the hyperbaric anti-aging studies, you can see it is an exceptionally well-cited study. It's what we would come and expect to see from this type of thing. And it's referenced some really neat information and combined the status of anti-aging. And the status of anti-aging is a little bit challenging right now because what therapies there are, they don't seem to work so well. They are difficult to develop, and there is a significant level of invasiveness. Invasiveness is very problematic. The more invasive a therapy, the more difficult it is to administer. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, one of its big reasons for preference is it's non-invasive. So there are no needles, there are no IV lines. The hardest part of the whole thing here at our clinic is figuring out what to watch on TV. So it's pretty neat. So this study basically did a comprehensive review, and it made some pretty neat points about all the different benefits. And there are actually 5 big categories of them, and I'm going to kind of talk about it and go through it. So before we go any further, let me talk a moment about something called telomeres. And this may be the first time that you have heard this word. So in continuing a little bit with some of the topics I've been going over here, getting a little bit better understanding of how our body functions at the cellular level. So each time our body makes a new cell. Now, again, last week I talked about apoptosis. Our body is amazing. It's in a constant regenerative process, and different cells have a different program lifespan. This is the meaning of apoptosis. And the cell dies on schedule, and the body makes a new one. And each time the body does this process, it uses a little piece of the telomere. The telomere is the genetic material. So when there is no more of this genetic material, the cell becomes inactive, essentially, or it dies. And this is the whole premise of why we get older. The body does regenerate. The body continues to regenerate. We are always making new cells. So that process works pretty well as long as we have nutrients and food and water and some of the other chemical components required, the foundational building blocks, in order for our body to keep making those new cells. But this shortening process is associated with aging. And sometimes, by the way, this apoptosis process misprograms, and certain conditions, certain degenerative conditions, are rooted in essentially bad signals, cellular misprogramming. And in those chronic conditions, one of the reasons why hyperbaric is amenable is because in those cases, it's helping to repair the programming. And just like it has these anti-aging mechanisms, it's got a pretty wide range of biochemical, physiological effects. And again, it's not that it's magic. Oxygen's pretty involved in just about everything that goes on in the human body, about 6,000 expressions a second. So when you safely increase that, there are some very fascinating mechanisms and ways in which we can exploit this with hyperbaric oxygen therapy to heal faster and improve our health. And again, I've seen this firsthand. My colleagues, we we don't look bad. We're not worse for wear. We're holding our own. And most of us, myself included, get compliments all the time on how good we look, and we don't look as old as we are. And it's not because of exclusively diet and lifestyle. And this is part of the hook. If diet and lifestyle changes were it, if it was, hey, you live like this and this isn't going to happen, this disease won't happen, this neurodegenerative process like dementia won't happen, people would follow it. You would have thought that we would have figured it out by now. And the problem is that the diet and lifestyle factors, they don't clinically support that, they're not sufficiently effective alone. And this is the problem. So yes, we should do them, by the way. I am not suggesting that we should live unhealthy lifestyles, but I am providing some information to help understand where you have two people. One is eating what we would consider to be a above average, healthier lifestyle, including avoiding certain problematic foods and exercising, and they don't drink, they don't smoke. And then you have somebody else who is really not paying attention to their diet. They are not taking care of themselves. They do have alcohol and cigarettes. And when you compare the life expectancy of those two people, not so different. So some of that says, okay, well, there are some other factors here. So again, the physical exercise, even intermittent fasting, these are all very good things to do. Yes, we should do them, but there's more to this. And part of the big thing is chronic inflammation. So about 50% of all deaths worldwide are attributed to essentially chronic inflammatory diseases. And I did another video a few weeks ago where I specifically talked about how hyperbaric oxygen therapy brings down inflammation. And the chronic inflammatory process is very problematic. Now, our body does have inflammatory mechanisms, and those mechanisms are designed to help mobilize resources to the area for injury repair. But for a complex group of reasons, the chronic inflammation, and some of this is, where is this chronic inflammation coming from? Some of it is attributed to lifestyle exposure to pollutants and to toxins. As we get older, we essentially have had more exposure. And what have we done to work on that? So this is another example of one of these overlapping mechanisms here. Hyperbaric stimulates detoxification. So some pretty neat stuff, and this is all happening at the same time. One of the issues with inflammation as well is it tends to sneak up on people. So this chronic inflammation, most of the time when we're doing a nutritional consult with someone and they're telling us they're tired, they're telling us they have headaches, they're telling us about their skin rashes, they're telling us about how they don't go to the bathroom enough or they're going to the bathroom too much. They're telling us about their periodic vomiting. They're telling us about their aches and their pains. They're telling us about their bloating. All of these different subtle symptoms. Many of these subtle symptoms are slow chronic inflammation. Inflammation that's not specific to a symptom, right? We didn't cut ourselves. We didn't just get hit in the shoulder. When there isn't a direct correlation, that chronic inflammation is really missed. It's very overlooked and dismissed until it becomes a serious disease until it's progressed to some type of chronic diagnosis like cancer, like stroke, like dementia, like cardiovascular disease, like diabetes. All of those conditions are rooted in chronic inflammation that is actually causing cell damage. And the symptoms, because this inflammation is internal, it's very, it often goes unnoticed at first. And these changes can occur over weeks, they can occur over months, they can occur over years. And again, chronic signs of symptoms of this chronic inflammation. This is a derogatory, degenerative consequence of aging process. And there's a link to toxins. And we don't necessarily have to have body discomfort and joint stiffness, sleep disorders, mood disorders. Inflammation in the gut can dramatically affect, among other things, serotonin. Serotonin is produced in our gut. So very often we find people coming to us for hyperbaric oxygen therapy to help bring down inflammation because they've got some chronic aches and pains and they're looking to feel better. And they end up coming off of their psych meds because they feel better. And the reason for the mood issues was rooted in chronic inflammation. All while you lay there and breathe and watch a show. And again, hyperbaric, non-invasive, really hard to hurt somebody with a hyperbaric chamber. And another reason why you want to come to an ANDI Certified Hyperbaric Facility and have your dives done by a certified chamber operator is because ANDI as an organization has a perfect safety record. There's never been an incident in an ANDI Certified Hyperbaric Facility. The training standards, the extra, yes, we are making sure that there is more information to create the best opportunity for efficacy for our patients and clients. So this was pretty neat. And given some understanding, again, on this anti-aging, there's about 5 mechanisms. Well, there's 5 groups of mechanisms that this is broken down into. So I mentioned commonly about how one of the reasons why hyperbaric oxygen therapy is used in wound care is because it promotes angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is the growth of new tissue. In general, we heal about 80% faster. Our apoptosis cycle for fibroblasts is about 80% faster. Bone is about 50% faster. And a side benefit of angiogenesis, when we are essentially producing new tissue, growing new tissue, is it forces the production of collagen. So as we age, our skin becomes collagen deficient. So people undergoing courses of hyperbaric oxygen therapy for wounds and for other reasons, they will often comment on their hair. They will often comment on their skin. We have someone here that's doing hyperbaric right now. They were in today. They're doing elective surgery. They had a eye lift done and a chin implant, and they're using hyperbaric oxygen for helping to reduce the swelling, help it to heal faster. They were really feeling uncomfortable post-surgical. They came in for their hyperbaric session. They were significantly feeling better from the reduction of inflammation, which has a concurrent reduction of pain. When we bring down inflammation, we bring down pain. And she was telling us that when she got home, her whole family was like, wow, your skin looks amazing. This is incredible. You just got out of surgery and look at your skin. And that's not magic. That's not a placebo. That's actually the collagen production from the high dose hyperbaric. So she's here to help heal and prevent infection post-elective surgery. But the oxygen goes everywhere, so you get the collagen production everywhere. So this in enhancing angiogenesis, very powerful. And then again, we always have this apoptosis cycle. So in addition to the cosmetic benefits and the increase in collagen production, this is helping our cellular regeneration processes. Now, I've talked about inflammation a little bit, and again, inflammation, 50% of all deaths worldwide are attributed to chronic inflammatory diseases. 50%. So hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it's going to help bring down inflammation without the dietary change, without the exercise. Now, those things are important. I am not suggesting that we shouldn't be healthy and take steps to improve our lifestyle with better food choices and avoiding substances that don't do so well for us. But the hyperbaric will work whether you've made those changes or not. When you make those changes and add them with hyperbaric, it is a profound effect. You get these synergistic benefits from the homeostasis and optimal health. That's one of the reasons why we really recommend that you do a targeted nutritional program with us when you're doing your hyperbaric oxygen therapy. You're going to get great results from hyperbaric. People reduce their inflammatory markers with dietary changes and lifestyle changes all the time. When you put them together, you don't just get the benefits of each. It's a stacked improvement. They work synergistically. It's amazing. So when we bring down this inflammation, it has a cascading benefit, and it's another one of the ways in which hyperbaric is super beneficial. Now, another thing that hyperbaric does is it actually helps upregulate the mitochondria. And in the root of disease, a lot of it comes down to the fact that the mitochondria isn't functioning properly. A lot of infections, a lot of chronic immune disorders like Lyme disease, for example, which has a known pathogenic component, even some of the complex cases where like a lot of people with chronic fatigue syndrome also have other pathogens. They have other diagnosed bacteria that is contributory. And that pathogen, that bacteria, that critter that's not supposed to be there, part of the reason why it is able to be there is because the person has mitochondria damage. If the immune system was functioning properly, the immune system, the soldiers, would have fought it. It would have kicked it out. The fact that it's able to persist very often is contributory to the fact that there is mitochondria damage. And often that mitochondria damage is coming from some kind of environmental exposure, some kind of toxin. I did a consult a few days ago, and in the history of how this person got to be where they are, which isn't a great place, but we're going to do some amazing things with them, there is a mattress involved, and they purchased a new mattress, and they were complaining about the odor and the chemicals from the mattress. And it turns out they very sensitive to the chemicals. The particular product had an awful lot of just unsafe chemicals, especially to be laying up against and breathing. And the off-gassing from the mattress was the last piece in the perfect storm and caused some mitochondria damage, which ultimately led to where they are right now. So one of the neat things is hyperbaric oxygen therapy has some immune mechanisms. Again, different video, but it does actually help to supercharge the white blood cells, the leukocytes, and a consequence of that is some natural detoxification as well as a better functioning immune system. Plus, there are some bactericidal mechanisms. There's a fish in the desert like response, so you get some pretty interesting things there. So, now again, getting back to our anti aging, any one of those things would be incredible. But all of those things are happening at the same time. And there are no negative side effects here. Our body does really well with oxygen mechanisms. The therapy is non invasive. You need to be in a reasonable level of respiratory health. We are compressing gases, we are moving some pressure. So the air filled spaces of our body need to be relatively healthy. But in general, if you can safely fly on an airplane, you probably can do hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Not all that much difference to it. So, non invasive, immediate benefits. And one of the most amazing things about these immediate benefits is you don't have to make the diet and lifestyle change. So often, people have mild clinical depression as a consequence of the poor diet and lifestyle. And they're in a serious inflammatory cycle. So they got all kinds of aches and pains. It just doesn't feel great in the body. And now, okay, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to make this change and we're going to go and do that. Give me a break. Come on. You don't feel it. And we really get that here. So let's do some hyperbaric first. Let's get that inflammation down. Let's get you feeling better. And then we can slowly make some changes with some targeted supplementation to make it even easier and get you feeling better faster. One of the other neat things that it does, and I've mentioned of these five different anti-aging things, is I've talked about telomere lengthening, and this mechanism is really neat. And in this regenerative process, again, clinically documented that hyperbaric lengthens telomeres. Now, we had suspected that it was playing this role. There was a lot of research, the wound care research, some of the osteomyelitis research, some of the infectious disease research. I mean, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is nothing new. It's been used for many, many years. The issue is the application for it and the awareness of it has really started to grow as interest in natural health and non-invasive therapies have become more prevalent. We've also had a lot more information that came out. So this study that was published proved something that was suspected. And this particular study used a very specific protocol over a very specific dosage. And the dosage involved something called air breaks. And the dives were 90-minute hyperbaric sessions, not including the time it takes to come up to pressure, the time it takes to come down from pressure, and the air breaks that were done on the session. I'll do another video where I talk about what air breaks are. I think I mentioned it in one of the other earlier ones. We, by the way, are trained and equipped for air breaks. So for those of you that understand how important they are, we're trained and equipped for them. It's one of the reasons why we have the white panels on the wall behind our chambers. Those are specifically so that we can do air break to bibs with it. So this was very interesting. And again, we certainly need to do more research here because the question, well, just like with the stem cell study, we knew that hyperbaric oxygen therapy mobilized stem cells, but what was the dosage that did it best? Well, that took about 15 years before we got that exact piece of information. So right now we have one solid established protocol, and we know that this protocol consistently creates this. So you need an ANDI certified chamber operator at an ANDI certified hyperbaric facility that is actually able to duplicate the protocol as the research data clearly illustrated. Yes, is hyperbaric good? Yes, hyperbaric is good. Should I do some hyperbaric? Yeah, go do some hyperbaric. But if we're specifically trying, we have a goal, we're trying to ameliorate a condition, we're trying to extend life, we're trying to lengthen telomeres, we're trying to heal a stroke, we're trying to eradicate a pathogen, we're trying to increase performance enhancement to achieve a new level of athleticism. So all of these things, they're highly dosage dependent. So if the protocol and the dosage isn't in accordance with what the research is demonstrating, we're not even creating the opportunity. Now, is it bad? Well, no, it's not bad. But if the goal of this is to lengthen telomeres, to extend life, and we're not lengthening the telomeres because we're not doing the protocol, well, then we're doing something else. I don't think so. That's where the goal of what your specific dive plan is important. It matters, even for anti-aging, even for wellness. And then, of course, the last fifth thing, and I've talked about this, and I talked about this at length, was that the hyperbaric increases the number of stem cells. And last week's topic, I discussed that at length. So this is a really interesting topic for me. It overlaps a lot of data. I could probably go for quite a while longer. There was so much research and so much information in this particular study. It was absolutely fantastic. And I will make sure that the link of this study is there in the comment section. There really is some just fantastic information. And it's just another testament to how amazing hyperbaric oxygen therapy is and all the different ways in which we can use it to improve the quality of our life and restore and maintain our health naturally. So again, I thank you so much for coming out this evening and in enjoying this discussion. And again, we do Facebook Lives every Monday at 6 o'clock. And if you are watching this on the replay and you have some questions, please feel free to reach out to us, send us a direct message. We would be very happy to answer them for you. And of course, if you are ready to take advantage of the anti-aging benefits of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, give us a call. Our offer at the office is 954-749-9998. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Again, my name is Laura Betts with Hyperbarics RX. Thank you for joining me this evening, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much.